they just won't commit to you. You've been in a situationship with the avoidant for quite some time now, and they just won't commit. They refuse to put a label on the relationship. But you're afraid to hold a boundary because you're afraid that if you do, this person is going to run away. First, let's take a step back and understand the fear of commitment with an avoidant, especially a dismissive avoidant or a fearful avoidant that leans dismissive. That fear of commitment is because they fear abandonment. In the avoidant's mind, commitment equals abandonment. It is all in the subconscious, and it goes back to childhood. Understanding where this comes from is important. This is a person that was emotionally neglected by their parents or caretakers. Their feelings were not nurtured. They were not given the love in the way that they needed from their family. So they grow up feeling like it must be something wrong with them, that they are unlovable. Because if they were lovable, they would have received love as a child. Children tend to personalize it when their parents don't give them the love that they need. So fast forward to being an adult, they learn to associate that closeness equals abandonment because they were supposed to be able to be close with their parents, but they were emotionally abandoned. This causes a fear of emotional closeness. Emotional intimacy is terrifying to them. Now, when you commit to somebody, it's essentially an unspoken rule that you have to be vulnerable with this person, that you have to be emotionally available to this person if you're willing to commit and put a label on the relationship. That is terrifying to the avoidant. So therefore, in their mind, if they commit to you, you are going to abandon them. You're going to figure out that this person is unlovable. If the avoidant takes down their walls, you are going to get to know the real them. And you'll see that at their core, they're defective. They're not a lovable person. And you will reject and abandon them. Because if you are a loving partner that is consistent and shows up for them, then the avoidant, in their mind, they somewhat have you on a pedestal. And they view you as above them, that you are too good for them, better than they deserve, and that if they have to open up to you and commit to you, they're ultimately going to disappoint you, you're going to figure things out, and you're just going to kick them to the curb. So it is safer for the avoidant to not commit. Because when they don't commit, they can still get the validation from you. They can still get the attention from you, the benefits of you. They have all the access to the benefits of you and the relationship without the pressure of being emotionally vulnerable or being emotionally available to you. They get the best of both worlds. They don't have to actually face their fears, and they get that external validation from you that they so desperately crave. Because keep in mind, due to the lack of love as a child, the avoidant has a low self-esteem. They feel unlovable. This is a person that does not recognize their own worth. And they've put up these walls as a way to protect themselves, to shield themselves from heartache. It's easier to be the one doing the abandoning than to risk being abandoned themselves. They have a paralyzing fear of abandonment, but it all lies in the subconscious. And the reason why it's in the subconscious is because dismissive avoidance, and avoidance in general, but they struggle to self-reflect. Because self-reflection is the opposite of avoiding. When you self-reflect, you have to face your fears, process your emotions, take accountability, see where you've gone right, where you've gone wrong. That's all painful stuff. And they've learned to avoid that stuff because they were never shown how to process emotions as a kid. Also, there is a core shame wound that avoidants have. That's because they weren't given love, not the way they needed. So because they weren't given the love, they feel like they were unlovable, and it fills them with this sense of shame. If they take accountability, if they acknowledge that maybe they hurt somebody or did something wrong, it confirms to them that they are in fact defective. It pokes at that core shame wound. So self-reflection is just too painful. So since they don't self-reflect when it comes to their emotions, they often have no idea that they even have a fear of abandonment. It's a subconscious fear that just gets triggered, and they don't know where it comes from. They don't reflect on their fears. They don't think about them. They try to run from them. But this fear is so profound that it actually sets their entire nervous system on fire with anxiety when emotional closeness is building. And the same fear, the paralyzing fear, runs through their system when their partner is pushing for a commitment label. Now, they'll give you very vague excuses as to why they don't want to commit. And this is because they don't self-reflect. So when you don't self-reflect on your feelings and you refuse to think about your feelings, it's awfully hard to articulate them to somebody else in a coherent manner. So they'll say things like, well, why can't we just go with the flow? Why do we have to put a label on it? Why can't we just enjoy each other and let things go naturally? Or I'm just not ready for a label right now. I just don't want anything serious. Now, these vague surface level excuses are coming from a person that really has no self-awareness as to why they fear commitment, as to why they fear emotional intimacy. They're often completely unaware of where their own behaviors come from. So now we understand why they fear commitment. It is not a rejection of you. It doesn't mean that you are not good enough for them. It's actually because they feel and fear that they are not good enough for you. It's not a rejection of you. They are self-rejecting themselves. However, that doesn't mean that you have to tolerate being strung along. Now, of course, it's unrealistic to expect commitment in the first month or two of dating, but set yourself a time limit. If this person doesn't commit by this time and refuses to, that should be a boundary. Your boundaries are your sword and shield. Your boundaries are your limits of what you will and will not tolerate, what you want, don't want, what you need and don't need. And if you need commitment, you need a serious relationship, you want emotional intimacy, you shouldn't have to settle for less. Because when you're allowing yourself to be strung along for many months or even years in a situationship, what you're doing is you're sending yourself the message that your feelings, your wants, and your needs do not matter. And you're also letting yourself know that you can't rely on yourself to stand up for your needs. That pushes you further into insecurity, and it pushes you further into anxiousness, and it actually chips away at your own self-worth and your own self-esteem. But when you do hold boundaries, even though it can be hard, you're sending yourself the message that your wants, your needs, your feelings do in fact matter, that you do have your back even when it's hard. And you're also sending the message to your partner that, you know what, your feelings do matter and it's not okay to string you along. It's not okay to treat you this way. So do yourself the favor. If you've been strung along by the avoidant and you're still in a situationship, hold a boundary. It won't be easy, it'll be tough. But you do that, you're doing such a profoundly positive thing for yourself, and you're also sending a really strong message to the other person, which, by the way, when they know you mean business, that can be an incentive for them to actually not only commit, but to work on themselves. If they refuse to commit, well, that's where you have to walk away, and that can be very tough. But even still then, you walking away, going into a period of no contact, that can be the wake-up call that the avoidant needs. When they realize you're not pursuing them, you're not chasing, you're not begging, you're walking away. After a period of no contact, they allow themselves to access their feelings again. That's when they can profoundly regret their decision to not commit. They can reevaluate things and actually not only agree to commit to you, but agree to actually work on themselves and become a more secure partner. If they are still unwilling to do so, what they're telling you is that they're so entrenched in their own avoidance that they are not interested in self-reflecting and working on themselves because that's too painful for them. And what they're telling you is that it's never going to be a healthy, committed, emotionally intimate relationship with them. It's sad, it's unfortunate, but it's not what you're looking for. And you deserve more than that. You are not somebody's option, and you don't deserve to be strung along as if you're just an option, because you prioritize them, and you deserve somebody that will prioritize you in return and put in the same love, effort, energy, and commitment that you do. Yes, it's okay to have empathy for this person. They have unhealed attachment wounds. But that doesn't mean you have to accept being strung along. It doesn't mean that you have to tolerate breadcrumbs, that you have to tolerate less than you want or deserve. You can care about somebody, have empathy for them, but recognize they're just not relationship material.